Hello.
Alrighty. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of AWS Tributes, where leading women leaders in tech shares insights and demonstrate AWS solutions and inspire the next generation of female innovators in cloud computing and AI. Today, we came back with a very interesting topic of future proofing your workforce in the era of AI. And we discussed this specific topic in Executive Roundtable in July with amazing thought leaders. And my name is Yeom, Solutions Architect here at AWS, and I'm here with my amazing co-host Jigna. Do you want to say hi?
Hello. Jigna Gandhi. I'm a solution architect here as well. And you might have seen me in the previous episode. So happy to, co-host with you, Jiwon.
Great. So today we are going to dive into one of the most critical conversations happening in the boardrooms right now. So how AI is reshaping workforce development, the strategic decisions between upskilling existing talent versus hiring new AI native professionals, and plus what it takes for leaders to guide their organizations through this transformation while staying very competitive.
That's right. I mean, and obviously, like, we are not talking about this in the abstract, right? I know, like, last month, just before the NYC summit on July 15th, we had a privilege of attending an executive forum, and it was focused mainly on, how we are seeing the AI affecting the workforce transformation. And this wasn't, a typical tech conference, right? We had executives, CTOs, CHROs, and even VPs of data and analytic teams, which were like rolling up their sleeves to tackle the real world challenges.
Yeah, for sure. And what really struck me during those events about this forum was the urgency in the room. So these weren't necessarily the theoretical discussions about what might take happen in 5 years. The leaders were grappling with decisions they need to make today. Like, do we hire externally for AI skills, or do we bet on upskilling our existing workforce because the technology is changing every day in real time? And if we do decide to hire, what kind of talents do they need to develop to be the future ready? What do they need to do with the existing talents? So those are very hard questions that they need to answer right now.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, obviously, like the stakes could not be higher right now. We have been hearing from so many organizations who have, already started changing their, internal or, rotation programs because obviously the AI is changing the job market faster than anyone anticipated. And meanwhile, obviously, like you have senior developers who are seeing, more productivity gains from different AI tools and, obviously creating this interesting skill gap among the different experience levels.
Yeah, the forum was structured around three critical growth areas, and we love to share the sneak peek of it throughout this episode today. And those were one, where talent makes a measure of difference, AI for workforce transformation, talent acquisition, and talent development and the retention. What made it really valuable was a mix of panel discussions and the very intimate roundtable conversations, and we'd like to go into more details.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like we had some incredible voices in the room, and one of our panelists was Chun Schiros, and she's an enterprise technologist from Amazon, and who brought like some of the really fascinating perspectives on how organizations are actually implementing these strategies, right? And I'm so happy to say that she's on the show with us today. Let me just add her to the stage with us.
Hey.
June, thank you so much for joining us. And do you mind just giving a quick introduction for the audience here?
Absolutely. Can you all hear me okay?
Yeah.
Well, awesome. Well, good morning, good afternoon, ladies. Thank you so much for having me on the show. And hello to everyone who is watching online. Thank you for tuning in. Like Gina mentioned, my name is Chun Schiros, and I'm an enterprise technologist at AWS. In my role, I get to be serving as the executive advisors to our boards of directors, C-suite management teams of AWS customers. So, having been in the trenches myself as a chief analytics officer, head of enterprise data science, various different roles in financial services, and also have been working with many customers from AWS that I have seen firsthand what works, what doesn't. So this allows me to have the opportunity, the insights to help leaders across the board look around corners, strategize with them on their cloud journeys, their data strategies, and of course, AI strategies, and providing guidance to them on topics like transformations, organizational structures, change managements, and so on. So I'm super delighted and thrilled to be on the show with both of you.
The story is mutual, and we are very happy to have you here today. So, before we dive deeper into the key insights, I think it is worth setting the stage here. So, why does talent strategy matter so much in the age of AI? What's your take on it?
That's a great question. And ladies, you may have heard before and might also be very much witnessing it right now is that AI is not going anywhere. It's here to stay. So we better work with it. And in order to really win and grow in the age of I think organizations should really think hard and make sure that they're building a resilient and adaptable workforce that can collaborate effectively with AI systems. And in fact, what I am seeing as one of the main blockers for AI adoption is skills and organizational maturity. It's not so much of the technical aspect; is the really the people and the process. And some organizations, they stuck in analysis paralysis. They spend so many months just trying to get stakeholders on board, get buy-in across many teams who may not have the same level of maturity. And this is why, back to the questions you asked, why talent strategy is make or break. When you actually spend the time and strategize and build AI literacy across your organizations, you break that paralysis, right? Everyone speak the same language. Decision gets to happen faster, and you're actually executing instead of spinning in planning. Um, and the good thing is that we're actually seeing a shift from hiring for capabilities to build hiring for roles to building capabilities. And many organizations, I'm sure you all are also working with customers on this as well, that they're seeking for guidance from us on how to do I upskill talents? How do I build a culture of continuous learning in the age of cloud and AI?
Yeah, and that is exactly what we are here to explore today. And we'll break down the key insights from both the panel discussions and the roundtable sessions and share some real world examples of what's working and what's not, and give you more actionable strategies you can start implementing right away.
Yeah,
Awesome.
and I think that's what we should, we should jump right in. Um, I mean, why can't we, start with, like how AI is reshaping the job landscape and what that means for the, next generation of workers?
Yeah, let's start from the big picture, from what you're seeing across the industry. Which role do you think, unfortunately, or actually disappearing, and what new opportunities are emerging as AI transforms the workforce?
That's a very interesting question, and the media's, yeah, have been talking about disappearing and so on. But here's what is really interesting. I honestly not necessarily seeing roles disappear as much as we're seeing them begin to transform. And the pattern I'm observing here is that our customers are beginning to really automate those repetitive rule-based tasks, right? But the roles that were doing those work themselves are starting to evolve towards more higher value work. A really common examples, right? Customer services. AIs are increasingly being deployed in contact centers for routine queries, and then the customer service representative now can have the time and the energies, but also bringing more human empathies to work as a specialized, experienced specialist who can handle much more complex and much more emotional nuanced tasks.
Yeah, I think that's a great
Do you,
example.
yeah, do you see that as well?
Yeah, for sure. So I personally support financial service customers as a solutions architect, and I'm seeing the financial industry, AI handles more routine transactional inquiries like what is my account balance. That doesn't necessarily involve human interactions. I mean, it doesn't have to. So
Mhm.
the relationship managers are now focusing on, like you said, more complex financial plannings and advisory services that require more emotional intelligence and deep customer understanding, which is not necessarily disappearing, but it's just evolving into different phase of the specific job categories. So basically, the human touch becomes more valuable, not less.
Absolutely. And what is really interesting is that AI is beginning to also help democratize those technical capabilities and equip humans with tools that can do more complex work. So tasks like data analysis, automations, even coding, right, are now become more and more accessible to domain experts like the relationship managers you mentioned using AI. And to your questions, this is gradually becoming a new category of professionals, and they're not necessarily too technical, nor they're they're absolutely business, right? They're the ones that are in between. They're increasingly more and more fluent in both worlds using AI. So then AI now become a bridge to let these domain experts access to technical capabilities that might previously locked behind, years of training. So to your questions about the opportunity I'm seeing emerging is especially for like mid-career professionals who have the combinations of deep domain experts and AI skills. They're becoming increasingly valuable because they know exactly the kind of problems that organizations need solving, but they're also able to leverage AI skills to solve them more effectively. And I see tremendous potential in in it.
That's actually really fascinating. And if I remember correctly, like when we had the panel discussion, you did
Yeah.
mention about the gap where newer generations might become too dependent on like some of the immature AI assistants, right? Do you mind just like expanding a little bit on that as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is one of the risks that concerns me. And I have three young kids, and I'm trying to steer them away as much as possible in devices, AI, so that they can still use pencils, pens, and papers to do math work. And there are ample research showing growing evidence that the younger generations are becoming more and more dependent on AI assistants. And then in organizations and companies, we are also seeing junior professionals who could be incredibly fluent and skilled in AI tools, which is great. But some might be using it as a shortcut versus a complement to their skills. They're getting answers, but they're not necessarily understanding the why behind them.
Mhm.
Right?
Honestly, that resonates with what I'm observing too. And I'll be super honest. I'm probably guilty of this myself since I use AI consistently throughout the entire day. And what I've noticed, while junior professionals are incredibly fast at generating solutions with AI, they sometimes hit a wall when asked to defend their approach or pivot when requirements change during the projects. It's like having a really smart research assistant who can give you amazing first draft, but you still need to know enough to edit and adapt them, which sometimes we kind of lose touch on if you get too dependent on it. And what concerns me is creating a generation of professionals, myself included, who became so fluent with AI that we tend to forget the questions whether we actually understand what we are producing. So the risk isn't just about the dependency. I think it is losing the muscle memory of deep problem solving when AI inevitably hits its limit.
Exactly. And we certainly want a workforce that is productive, right? But we don't want to have a workforce that end up is very productive in the short term, but lacks that, like you said, the fundamental knowledge of innovations and troubleshootings and having critical judgment calls when AI is giving conflicting or incorrect answers, right? And as you all know, right now, AI is still growing and they're not perfect. They're still making errors, they're still hallucinating, and they could be also very biased too. So you need experienced humans in the loop to ensure that they catch those issues.
Yeah, definitely. But it also sounds like, like big challenges that, we definitely need to
Yes,
solve.
absolutely.
How could you suggest, that, organizations should address it?
Well, it is a big challenges and it's evolving as well. So I would say that we don't necessarily have all the answers, and we're still learning and adapting. A couple of things I think organization can kind of thinking about implementing. One is that, and I don't think this is new even in before AI, right? Is to emphasize on critical thinking as a company culture. So, but in the era of AI, companies could mandate employees to challenge AI outputs, verify their recommendations, and understanding the logic really behind it, and encourage developing healthy skepticisms, right? And that is encouraged. And we have this great and commit kind of leadership principle, right? So again, SAM should be applied when you're working collaboratively with AI. And another one is to do pairing programs. And we do that no matter whether we have AI or not. We have a more senior developers kind of onboardings and mentoring junior developers. And one of the items could be showing them or model them how to properly use AI and set the right kind of expectations of using AI. And of course, beyond just training the workforce, AI itself is growing and continues to gain maturity and accuracy, right? So we're seeing companies are investing in growing AI's systems reliability through, say, increasing the effectiveness of their data management capabilities, data governance, AI guardrails, building more capabilities in the evaluations, the observability, the human in the loop. All of this is to make sure that we know what agent is doing and how they come to those conclusions. And if there is intervention needed by humans, there is ways to do so in the middle of it. And that with those observabilities that we can continuously improve the systems. So yeah, both sides are important to make sure that we mature the tool, but we also mature the people who are going to leverage the tool.
Yeah, makes total sense. And that segues to my next question. And given these challenges, we talked about the hiring strategies earlier as part of our intro. How do you think the organization should approach the fundamental question of hire versus upskill with all these challenges existing? Especially when we typically had this idea of to become an expert in certain area, you need like 10,000 hours to invest in, and potentially that has shrunken down to a couple hundred hours. That has been our observation with the AI being such a dominant tool in the workforce. So, what's your take on it?
That's a great question. And I actually know that a lot of leaders that I work with are also grappling about it too. Just like you said, Jiwon, that the old model of expertise are taking 10,000 hours or being disrupted by AI. You can so much quickly learning and subject with the help of AI. And someone could spend just 6 and 9 months of intense and focused AI trainings and potentially outperform those that are having years of traditional experience. And we saw those math test results are pretty daunting. Um, so to your questions about hiring versus upskilling, I think it's not a simple answers of hire or upskilling, right? I think it's a strategic blend based on the company's gaps and timelines. And I would like to think of talent portfolios like investment portfolios. And we can think of the portfolios are consist of three different categories. The first one, which is the most important one, is really your foundations. And these are your existing subject matter experts who have the deep domain knowledge and institutional context. They have the institutional knowledge of your company. They're already understanding your business. They know your customers and they know the company's constraints. So focus on upskilling them, give them the right kind of AI capabilities and tools, and they could become incredibly powerful because they know exactly the kind of problem to solve. The second category is the strategic hires. So bring in new but AI native talents to fill in your specific immediate capability gaps. And this could be like machine learning engineer, AI architect, or prompt engineer, for example, where you need the immediate expertise. And hiring these people not only just to be contributing to projects, but also teach and elevate others, and they become your force multipliers. The last one is those who have high potentials and fast learners, right? They they can learn quick, just like you, Jiwon. You can go from zero to productivity just in 6 to 9 months, like you mentioned. You may not have the same kind of tens of years of experience, but you could rapidly acquire those skills with augmentations from AI. And as I'm seeing across the board, with AI being that training accelerators, the learning curve is also compressing, and you could afford to learn things much faster. So I would think of talent portfolio like these three categories and invest accordingly on upskilling those who are high potential employers and also hiring those who can be your force multipliers.
That's actually a great point, and like there is some aspect that we need to handle from the leadership aspect as well. So from that perspective, like how do you think like leaders should model effective AI usage while preserving the human judgment?
Leaders are so important. Leaders set the tone for their entire organizations in terms of their relationship with AI. And right now, it is a huge responsibility. And we actually discussed this during our panel that we're seeing, and some of the panelists actually shared that stories too, is that the way they lead by example is to show and be transparent to their employees about their own AI journeys. They're not shy away from letting the teams know that they're using AI to draft papers, write emails, but they're also very clear on the boundaries on where they must have human in the loop on critical workloads where AI is just an assistant. So they lead by examples. They're sending basically a signal that the goal is not necessary to be just productive and speed. It matters, but hopefully better outcomes from thoughtful applications of AI.
And I understand there is like a very fine line, but where do you see that line between like a smart usage versus over dependence?
That's a very good question. I'm figuring it out too. Is when do I too much relying on AI before I even knowing it, right? I think it actually comes down to whether you take it as it is from AI or you actually challenge it on the back of your head. Are you still questioning those outputs? For smart usage, right? You use AI to expand your thinking, to surface options that you may not have thought about before, testing some assumptions or accelerating work that you don't necessarily have to do on your own or too expensive for you to do. Over dependence, I think, is that when you basically just accept AI recommendations as it is, you don't question it, you don't reason it, and you stop applying your critical thinking. And I would say that we're not necessarily going into a future that is anytime soon that AI is going to replace human decision making entirely. It's more likely that we're going into a world where we're working alongside with AIs. So again, tying back to what we have been discussing so far, right? the skills gap, that the technical capabilities that is needing to going into the futures, the risk of kind of surface level expertise. I think leaders should really model thoughtful AI usage, and then making sure that they're helping the organization set the tone, create environments where people feel like they should leverage AI while at the same time maintaining and encourage to ensure that there's constant critical thinking in the process.
Yeah, I think that really wraps up the key discussions that we had in the events. And this conversation about leadership and AI adoption actually brings us to our next segment. So during our executive forum, we had the chance to sit down with Padma, who's corporate vice president of AI and data at New York Life Insurance Company. And she's been leading the enterprise-wide AI and generative AI initiatives, working with cross-functional teams to accelerate model deployment and build AI ready data infrastructure. So she shared what made she come to the event and her career journey and her take on how to navigate the career as a woman in the era of AI and how she thinks of AI in the workforce. So how about we have her invited to the stage, our interview video, and let's hear what she had to say.
Awesome. I think I can bring that up. So much for being with us. We are at this amazing event at the Meeting Galleries where we have amazing women leaders from financial services organization here, and we are so lucky to have you here. Thank you for being with us. Before we start our discussion, do you mind just giving a quick introduction, maybe your name and where are you joining us from?
Sure. I am Padma Vellanki. I lead a group of engineers at New York Life. Our team builds AI-ready data sets that are consumed by the ML engineers to build models.
That's amazing. Awesome. What inspired you to attend this event today?
I had attended a similar event called Women in Tech in March in DC. It was very energizing. In fact, I presented there, and it was a very energizing event. I was like truly inspired by the women who joined there and the panelists, especially. Some of them were like having like long careers. So I was really amazed that one lady had a 50-year career in
Wow.
one location, and I was like, there were like all sorts of accomplished women. So I felt like energized and I wanted to see a similar event here.
That's amazing. I hope you get the same experience here as well.
I hope so.
Can you share us a little bit about your professional journey?
I graduated many moons ago, but interestingly, my bachelor's project was in AI.
Wow.
However, after that, when I started my career, I worked in a research organization, Panasonic's research wing, where we worked on data uh, in the research wing of that. So it was like new technologies to how to index uh, unstructured data at that time. So I was always lucky to be in the cusp of the nice technology. However, after that, I worked in multiple companies, different startups, and also in large companies, all companies of all sizes, shapes, and technologies. Worked for some pharma companies, some Lucent Technology labs, and a wireless startup. And now I'm in the insurance industry.
No, that's quite a lot of journey.
Yeah, and full circle now back. I'm working in data, supplied to the AI folks.
Connected to the roots, right?
Yeah.
So that's great. Can you tell us a little bit about how's the event going on so far? Is there anything that you liked, or any learning that you did that you had from the event?
I really like the events that you folks organize. In the past too, I enjoyed them, and today I'm happy that I'm here with so many women, and it gives an opportunity to connect with people with having like sidebar conversations. That's what I really like because you have candid conversations, which
Yeah.
you don't have in a large event. I know tomorrow you have a huge event. I chose this event over that because I'll have like intimate sidebar conversations here, the candid conversations.
Yeah.
I was lucky to have spent some time with some of your solution architects and enjoyed the conversations as well.
Awesome. That's great. That's great to hear. I know like you have few other sessions left for today. Is there anything that you're hoping to take back from this event and then also apply it within your company?
I think Gen AI seems to be the hot topic. We discussed
Yeah.
a little while ago with some of our colleagues saying that how do you upskill your folks, and do you hire new folks, or do you upskill your folks? And there was an interesting conversation where I think we all agreed that all you need to look for in a hire is curiosity and enthusiasm. That will take them a long way, and I think that's something that I definitely will look for when I hire people. Another thing that we discussed was about judicious use of Gen AI, which applications you should and which you shouldn't. One interesting example was like in a system administration area, can you let a Gen AI take over? And we had some interesting conversations there.
Okay, that's good to hear. Okay, so since you talked about that, like, what's your view of leveraging AI for workforce transformation?
Like I said, like in terms of like hiring, you just have to, you can look for somebody who is trained in this Gen AI
Yeah.
or latest technology, because before you blink, the technology is moving on. So there's no
Exactly.
point in hiring somebody who's good at some technology today, because tomorrow it's new technology. So it doesn't matter. So for that reason, you have to have the spark in the candidate who is going to spend the time to go after new technologies and has aptitude to learn it and adapt it. So that's what we should be looking for.
Awesome, awesome. Thanks for sharing that. And before we let you go, is there any advice you would like to give to young women who are, aspiring a career in technology?
Be curious and be ready to work hard, and you'll be successful.
Wow, that's that's such nice words. Thank you so much for
Sure.
sharing that, and thank you so much for being with us.
My pleasure. Thank you.
You. Bye.
Alrighty.
Right.
I
That was a
think
great interview.
I think that was short and sweet, and I loved how it ended with like, be ready to work hard and you'll be successful. So shout out to Padma for being with us during the event and share her experience. And we had a lot of great voices in the room. That was how the event got very rich and also very insightful. So any thoughts from you guys?
I think what Pama mentioned, which echoes or resonate with me quite a bit, is that roles or just skills are evolving so fast, and we really, as leaders, need to look for the next hire that is curious, that is enthusiastic for learning, for adapting, and to get their hands dirty to get work done. And I think that resonate a lot with me. And as I was mentioning earlier, is that organization really need to focus on building a workforce that's adaptable, that is resilient, that is being able to go through changes. That, and we're really in a very uncertain time. So resilience is key.
I agree with everything. So definitely plus one to all that. And again, one more time, thank you so much, Padma, for being with us during the event and share the curiosity and enthusiasm that you have.
Absolutely.
As we wrap up, and look ahead, what is that one thing you want our listeners to remember for all time?
Well, like I mentioned, right, learning is key in this era of uncertainty. And I would just say that we're all still figuring this out. We're still adapting and learning, and there's really no perfect playbook on AI transformation yet. Even those who you might have seen on social media that have a lot of success and so on, we're still experimenting, we're still learning. And so my advice is to start somewhere, to start today. And like Pama mentioned, to be curious, be enthusiastic. And remember that a lot of AI experts today probably were beginners not too long ago. So the difference is that they're willing to take that first step and keep learning. And just to leave on a very, very positive note, that we're all living in such a world where there's a lot of transformation, changes, challenge, but it's also up to us to chart chart the path. And so it's a great opportunity. And I encourage everybody to jump in, to take, to jump on the wagon and go together.
That's a perfect note to end on. And yeah, I mean, the future of work isn't just something that's happening to us, and it's something we are, actively shaping through the decisions we make today.
Yep.
100%. And speaking of the shaping of the future, next episode, we are bringing Taisha from TIAA to talk about the practical side of AI governance and implementations, and also her career journey and how she thinks of AI in the workforce. But we are also like having also going to have amazing perspectives. So please stay tuned for the next episode as well.
Yes, I'm actually really excited for that conversation as well. And so to our audience, obviously stay tuned for our next show. You can reach us out in LinkedIn. I pasted those links on the screen for you. And once again, thank you so much for joining us today. If this insights, spark some ideas for your organization, we would love to hear about them. So let's stay connected. Until next time, this is the Future of Work Insights. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.